It's going. We're going. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Houston No Problem. A little Saturday special because, quite frankly, had too much fun last night. Did not make a show yesterday. Monkey Butt is celebrating. I'm celebrating. Got old school Jay Buhner jersey on. You might see this jersey quite a bit over the next couple of weeks if that's how the Mariners keep playing. For those of you who aren't aware of baseball, the Mariners tied for the greatest comeback in playoff history. They were down 8-1 and won the game 10-9. And holy shit, right? Like, what? So anyway, Mariners are on the next round of playoffs. Divisional series against Cleveland. They mopped the floor with Cleveland this season. I think 6-1. So let's get it. I have no idea if the Mariners will be able to survive in the American League Championship Series if they get there. But I think we can get there. I think we can get through Cleveland and get there. So, woohoo! All right, off. Other one off. We're good. Solid. Monkey cam's going. I'm going. Kirch Bridge destroyed, or mostly destroyed. It done blowed up last night, early this morning. One span is down in the water. Another span caught on fire for like 10 hours. And the third span, which is a traffic span, is scorched. I have no idea how damaged it is. Apparently, Russians are driving cars across it. There's pretty much no way for the Russians to fix it. The infrastructure that was used to build that bridge was done by a Dutch transportation company in violation of sanctions. It's pre-built spans that they truck out on a barge and then have a crane put in. And there's no one. Russia doesn't have the ability to build one of those spans. They just don't. So I don't know if Russia is going to be able to repair that thing. And if by the time they get their rear together where they can, just get blowed up again. So it's going to be a turning point in the war for sure. MMTLP is rocketing. I want to wait just another week or two. I want some green from GME. Get some cash for my calls, and then I'll buy into some MMTLP. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but Bird Lady crunched the math on the reserves that were found in the drills at the university lands that MMTLP controls, and she's calling for over $300 a share for the windfall of the sale of that property. Oh, so she's suggesting diamond handing. When they announce they're going private, because the price on that thing is just going to rocket. So, okay. I'm all for that. What else, Monkey? We have anything else? Floor dog over there hiding behind the ottoman. I don't know. Let's go to what you guys have to talk about Saturday. Let's get weird. Hey, hey, hello. Joshua, do you think retail is keeping the market up with our options, gambling, or is it too far-fetched? Retail, I think, is gambling on meme stocks, and those, for the most part, are still rising high. But they're playing SPY puts like crazy. They know that the SPY is going to crash at any point now. So I don't know if that's what's keeping them up. I think what's keeping the market up is the plunge protection team working against the quantitative tightening. It's like there's two wars inside the Fed. One's like, we're going to get rid of all this crap. The other one's like, oh, we can't let the market go down. So it's just the snake eating its own tail at this point. Iggy Lemon, Casey Chapman, Volkswagen reached $1,300, so it's possible. Oh, wait, I missed the Casey Chapman point. Not sure if you can talk about it. Do you think MMTLP can reach 1K? I'll talk about MMTLP. I'm going to try not to talk about metamaterial. I mentioned them too much last show. My brother's like, don't. So I did. I'll talk about MMTLP. I won't talk about metamaterial. Why not? William Morgan was chatting with me about this the other day, and he's like, look, MMTLP is an OTC stock, which means there are no halts. It can just keep going and going and going, and the market does not stop anything from happening. So, why not? I mean, if Bird Lady's right in her calculations, and with gas prices or fuel prices pushing to 110 a barrel, and the number of barrels that are available in the university lands means $314 per share. I mean, what would be the sale price of $314? Let me just turn off Google Earth calculator. There we go. Okay, so we have 167 million shares, I think, times $314. $52 billion? That's a bit much. I don't know if I believe her. $52 billion, that's a big sale for that land. I would love to have $314, but I would say $1 to $2 a barrel is pretty decent. If it's $2 a barrel, there's 5 billion barrels, that's $10 billion, right? $10 billion divided by 167 million shares puts it at $60. I could believe that. I mean, I'd love $314. That'd be fantastic. But I don't know if anyone's going to have the cash available to do a $50 billion purchase of that land. Granted, if there's 5 billion barrels, right? 5 billion barrels times 114, $110 a barrel. Oops. That means there's $550 billion in oil there. But, you know, there's $56 in cost for each one of those things, so I may have cut it in half. So there's $275 billion in profit to be made off of the university lands at some point to whoever exploits it. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of oil. As we saw when we're looking at the Falkland Islands, which, you know, Britain and Argentina fought a war over, there's 1/7 the amount of oil in the Falkland Islands as there are just on this chunk of land, this 200,000 acres in Texas. So there's a lot of oil there. It just, oil price have to be above $56 a barrel for them to be able to exploit it. So, I'd love 3 or 14 a share. That'd be fantastic. But Great Houston, can you do the math for MMTLP if oil is still $100 a barrel? I just did that. Guitar Shop Houston, it's time for us to talk about the thing none of our international fans care about. The Mariners win. I know. Oh, it's so beautiful. Absolutely just... I mean, Robbie Ray had a shitty day. He's a starting pitcher. Just knocked out in the 4th inning. Gosman had a wonderful game. They finally took him out in the, was it 7th? 6th. Somewhere in there. And with 8-1 lead. And then his replacement just gave up like 4 runs. And then that was it. Oops. Start the downfall. Just. We haven't played playoff baseball here in so long. I was a young man. I was 20 the last time the Mariners went to playoffs. Literally more than half my life. I'm an old man now. The Mariners have not been to the playoffs. Just crazy. Lost waves. The Credit Suisse credit rating drop. I heard it had gone from A to BBB. That's why I saw the headline. I didn't read deeply. But yeah, it sounds like the credit rating went away. A bunch of people did a bank run, essentially. A bunch of really rich people that have private banking accounts have done a credit run or banking run at Credit Suisse. And so Credit Suisse assets under management are depleting quite readily because billionaires are pulling out their cash. That's a big deal. Chakuseki, Houston, the Revlon Day of Reckoning is almost upon us. All praise be to Ron Perlman and potentially his Gordon Gekko-like greed. I got my calls. I'm waiting on that one too. So, Let's see where it goes. Jason Blackwell, Houston. My friend is trying to live his life technology free and has rejected technology from his life. If you don't believe me, you can check out his live stream. There's this couple who they live in Port Townsend, which is like 45, 50 minutes north of us. Old Victorian era town, lumber town, and Fort Worden is there, which we talked about last show, maybe show before, where Officer and a Gentleman was filmed. They dress in Victorian clothing. They all Victorian everything. Do everything Victorian. Victorian. But they work here on Bainbridge. So they do a 50-minute commute. They don't use technology except for the husband's DeLorean. They've eschewed all technology except for his DeLorean. They drive that around. The lady, when she walks through town, looks like, each town has a story of like the woman in white. If you don't pull over and give her a ride, she'll kill you or whatever. This is what this lady looks like. So I feel like if I see her, I need to offer her a ride, or else, I'm going to die in a horrible car accident based upon some middle schooler's myth. She's like with a parasol and a white, like, lacy dress. It's very weird. So they've eschewed all technology except for the DeLorean. There's been all these articles too that were written about them, about how they live, like as if they're living in the 19th century, except for the DeLorean. There's like no electricity in the house, nothing. Let's see if we find an article, these guys. Yeah, it's totally is them. Okay. All right. This is totally them. Port Townsend, a couple living the dream, like Victorians. Let's see if they'll find the DeLorean in here. Oops, wrong one. Click there. Control F. DeLorean. Yeah. Another thing that didn't exist in 1890, the DeLorean, iconic time travel car from Back to the Future, they own one. Critics have also pointed out that while the Crispins, they want to live a Victorian lifestyle, they don't want to die a Victorian death of cholera or tuberculosis. These guys crack me up. But seriously, they do everything by candlelight. They dress, make their own clothes, and everything is 19th century authentic, as if they're, Amish, except for the DeLorean. Cracks me up. All right. Okay. Guitar stuff. Also, Girk says there's no major short position on GME, and if there is, it's been debt swapped, then it's irrelevant since it's been swapped out. That means someone has the debt, right? Once something is debt swapped, you're trading the liability. That means someone else has the liability. It might not be the person who originally shorted, but somebody else now owns that liability. And with the new ISDA Phase 6 rules, that new someone might not be able to do a swap to get rid of that liability and pass the buck on to somebody else. They may be stuck with it. So, meh. Jason Blackwell, do you have any idea of how many shorts of metamaterial torchlight preferred share and torch need to be closed? Not a clue. A year ago, I'd have said maybe 1 billion. Because they'd shorted that stock down to 21 cents before they agreed to do a merger with metamaterial. That's when they short a stock down that low, that means they've really created a lot of fake shares. But the price has been pretty low. I wouldn't doubt if there's been closing of that, but a lot of people are just holding on to it because, why not, right? People who have metamaterial torchlight preferred shares are sitting there knowing that that oil field's worth something, so they're sitting on it. Julianne, Since tar sands are expensive to extract, in your opinion, did shutting down Keystone Pipeline cause the effect of gas prices in the U.S.? No. That oil hadn't been pumping through there anyway, and it wasn't even for the U.S. It was to go to refineries along the Gulf Coast to be shipped out elsewhere in the world. So, I mean, all you have to do is make a refinery near where the oil sands are and then ship it from there. But they're shipping it all the way to Texas and Louisiana to ship out to Europe and elsewhere. So Keystone Pipeline has no reason why the gas prices are higher than they are today, or higher today. The entire reason the gas prices are higher is that OPEC cut back production. And the whole reason OPEC cut back production was because in April 2020, Saudi Arabia wanted like $600 billion in weapons from the United States. And Trump said, I'll give you those weapons if you cut back production so oil prices go up and Russia can make a bunch of money. And Saudi Arabia said, all right, we'll dial it back. And oil prices have been going up ever since. Let's see here. Oil production. Yeah, here we go. So this is April 30th, 2020. Special report, Trump told Saudi cut oil supply or lose military support. As the United States pressed Saudi Arabia to end its oil price war with Russia, Donald Trump gave Saudi leaders ultimatum. He basically said 2 years. Bonk. And then now the 2 years are up. Saudi Arabia has once again decided to, including with Russia and OPEC, to cut back 2 million barrels a day. Crap, I can't remember. 2 million barrels a day, I think, production. So the U.S. is now running to Venezuela. And I wouldn't doubt the U.S. has a little finger in the pie in Iran, because they wouldn't mind having Iran overthrown, and that would really piss off Saudi Arabia to have the U.S. once again working with Iran. So, yeah, things are getting crazy, man. Things are getting crazy. Jason Blackwell, Houston students need to be careful when picking a field of study, even though geology rocks. Oh, you ruined your joke. It's supposed to be, even though geology rocks, geography is where it's at. You did geology twice there. You ruined your own dad joke, Jason. I'm sorry. Although my family really did enjoy the meme you made yesterday about Turtle Beach. They thought that was funny. So, all right. Nanotech, you used to explain your own way how the universe isn't locally real and why it matters. I saw a headline about that. I have not dove into it at all, so I cannot expand upon that for you at all. I'm sorry. I'll get to it eventually, maybe this weekend. Lost Waves. My theory on the Jon Stewart interview is that they are throwing retail under the bus. The last one went so badly for them, and it's probably already been filmed. We'll see. Hopefully he read my tweet, got a bunch of likes, so maybe he did. For those who don't know, Jon Stewart's going to be interviewing Gary Gensler, and he asked for things to ask him, and I said, basically, our 5 big things: naked short selling, dark pools, swaps, payment for order flow, and high frequency trading. Ask about those 5 things that are basically used to manipulate the market, and why are they legal? Why is it legal to manipulate the market with those 5 loopholes that only big institutions and funds can do? Spencer Toronto's cursed. I'm sorry. You guys get a Raptor win, and then 20 years ago you get Joe Carter. That's it. That's all you get. No more. That's it. Done. True, literally every single time. Oh, shit. That just went away. Where'd it go? Drew. Where are you? Lost Waves. Drew, literally every single time I have bought GME, it just so happens to take a shit. Later that day, including yesterday. So it's your fault. It's your fault, Drew, that my call options have not exploded yet. So stop buying. Just Drew, we have to sacrifice you. We'll sacrifice you. You will be Jesus to the rest of us, the Messiah to our cause, and we will sacrifice you for the greater good. Lost Waves, my theory. Oops, I read that one already. Brandon Pettigrew. Man, how my home team lost like that is heartbreaking. I'm sorry, all you Canadians. I mean, you used to have at least 2 Canadian teams. One was really terrible. They had to leave the country to be able to win a World Series. But I do think there needs to be more Canadian teams. I understand why Vancouver doesn't have a team, or why Montreal doesn't have a team. Like, you have large cities. We should be have more teams in Canada than just one. That's just cruel. I mean, California has the same population as Canada. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. Houston, good evening. I'm starting to get curious about playing options, and I know it's complicated, but wondering what platform you recommend for any tips on starting. Paper trade first. And if you're going to play options, start with really cheap stocks first. I start with cheap volatile stocks and play with that, because you can lose $15 here, $10 there, rather than $1,000 here or $2,000 there. And, you know, learn about sort of what theta decay means. So theta decay is the time that's like left until the stock expires, or the option expires. There's delta, which is the difference between the strike price and the current price. And gamma, which is when, you know, the price is going up and it closes on a Friday, which means buying has to happen for the following week. Let's learn about those things. Kirch has a really good video. If someone has a link to that video, there's a Kirch and Pickle Financial video where he kind of goes through the math behind all those Greeks, and it's pretty darn decent and explains it to people. But the way I look at it is, if you got a volatile stock, it's going to go up at some point and it's going to go down at some point. That's what it means, volatility. There's a lot of up and downs. And you find one that you think is in a downswing. You get some options, X number of weeks, months, or whatever in the future, because you think that somewhere in there is going to be a volatility cycle. And if you're buying it towards the bottom, and you think it's going to go up, and it goes up, and you go, woohoo! And you either sell or exercise those options, and then get puts. And it goes right back down, you make a bunch of money again. If it keeps doing that cycle, you can ride it like a skateboarder in a half pipe. Salient Sapien. Oh, and what platform do I use? I have Options Authority on Fidelity and on Robinhood. I usually use Robinhood, I'll be honest. You guys have known this past, but for options, I use Robinhood because it's just so darn easy. Navigating options on Fidelity is a pain in the ass. Their app sucks. But literally, you just go boop, boop. Oh, there I go, my options. I do wish that Robinhood and others would include a historical price chart for options. Like when this option was written, how much it sell for, where has it been going, so I can look at the cycles, the price cycles of this thing, but they don't show that, and that really drives you off the wall. You don't get to see it until you buy the option. All of a sudden, here's all the history of what's happening. I wish they would show you the price history before then. Yeah. So, but it's the one I use. It's just much easier. Salient Sapien. Hello, beautiful friend. I just wanted to hear you say that and pretend you were talking to me. Real question. Plunge protection team support until midterms or can't? Well, I mean, the Fed keeps saying they're going to start quantitative tightening, and they're not really starting quantitative tightening. My guess is that the plunge protection team side is doing their own thing and completely ignoring the quantitative tightening side, and they're just going to be at war with each other the entire time. And now that I'm looking at myself on the screen, I'm realizing I forgot to print out the new thing that Jersey sent me with the bigger writing. Sorry, Jersey. You're probably asleep right now because it's Polish time there. Forgive me. I'll try to get it printed out for the show and then put that up. Where are we? Marcella, any news about AMC selling Ape? None that I've heard of at all. Just the rumors that someone is going to buy at $10 a share. They're going to buy all 400 and whatever million of them via dark pool, prearranged agreement. That's all I've heard. That's all I know. Drew, also next Friday, might be interesting. Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, and Chase have earnings that day. Ooh. Are there earnings after hours? Probably be a report after hours. So buying weekly puts on, say, Wells Fargo might be really awesome. Because they're doing it after hours on Friday, which means Monday it's going to open in the fucking gutter because they're not going to have anything good to say. They're going to say, oh, yeah, we can't sell houses like crazy. Mortgage divisions are all going bankrupt. Interest rates are too high. Our assets are garbage. All the hedge funds we lent to can't pay us back. Yeah, they're going to have some bad news. Idiot Red Mustang GT not going to happen, Houston. Cleveland will spank the Mariners. The Mariners are 6-1 against Cleveland this season. Cleveland is not going to beat the Mariners this time around. The Mariners had the Cleveland's number. Cleveland had the Mariners number in 95, but Mariners got Cleveland this time around. I mean, I think Tampa Bay was either 5-1 or 6-1 against the Mariners, and Cleveland took care of them, and Mariners cleaned up on Cleveland. So, sorry, Eddie Mustang. Mariners got Cleveland. Stanley Sapien, aloha from Pre-Apocalypse UK. I love your show, bro. I've been wondering if banks get bailed out and pay off their margin call, then they never have to close their shorts. Well, the bailout most likely would be to close. Because that is what the money would be for. That's how they get bailed out. They don't want them carrying debt. Because the debt is assumed from an entity that they lent money to. And the whole reason that Credit Suisse is going down is because they don't have the money to close the positions they're in. And they're just being dragged down by that debt. And everyone's starting to bail on them as a result. So maybe some that just take on the cash and go, oh, look at that. We are not over leveraged. We can assume all this garbage debt. But do they want to manage that garbage debt forever and just take it more on and more on and more on? It might come with their bailout might come with stipulations like you are going to use this bailout money to get rid of this debt. And that's what we're going to do. So that might be where it goes. John Castro Houston got timestamps. I do have timestamps. I found the little clicky thing that shows me how to get timestamps back on here, so I can see what time everyone is chit chatting, and I can see that I am a half an hour behind in the chat. All right. And SJ Houston, did you see the article posted on Superstonk titled "Global Margin Call Hits European Debt Markets"? Yeah, it's from the Asia Times, I think. I think it was those guys. Europe their banks are in some serious issues. Their banks were not making very big profit compared to like North American banks or even Asian banks. Like North American banks are pulling down 10% profit each year, while the European banks are pulling down like 4%. So they weren't amassing assets like the American banks were. And, you know, the fact that they didn't have that cushion means they're might be the first ones to go under. But I'm really curious to see where the energy crisis and the food crisis takes Europe this winter. I think it's going to be, brutal, to be honest. Best of the rest, 222. Can we broach the subject of what effect all these 20 years of market volatility has had on young people? Every 5 to 7 years, an economic shitstorm. Yeah. Yeah. The entire point of moving to a Keynesian system was to get rid of the economic shitstorms and to draw out how long it would be between them. You regulate heavily the securities markets and the banks. You keep large corporations from assuming too much control so that if one goes down, it doesn't wipe out a whole wide swath of the economy. You want like a school of fish. You know, a couple of fish die here and there. It's not all of them dying. And you limit the boom bust cycles. You might have huge booms, but then means you have huge busts as well. So you constrain it so it goes but while it's kind of up down cycles, the overall trend is up over time. So it's like it looks like the carbon or atmosphere graph, right? Have you guys ever seen that thing from Mauna Loa Atmospheric Observatory? Mauna Loa Atmospheric Observatory graph. Here we go. So this is the graph. Get big for me, would you? Don't do, just load, man. That's all I have to do. I just want to see the graph. Give me the graph. Okay. The graph in plaque form. I just everything like a 20. Here we go. So it goes up down every year, and that is basically summer winter. So in the summer, northern hemisphere, all the plants, their leaves are out. They're just gobbling up carbon dioxide like crazy, growing, having a wonderful time. Then the leaves die off, and carbon goes up in the atmosphere because the leaves decay. They're not consuming as much carbon. And so you get this up-down cycle. But the up-down cycle is small. But over time, carbon is going up over time because we're burning shit and destroying forests and so on. So they can't capture as much carbon. This is the type of graph that John Maynard Keynes was trying to get us to have, rather than a graph where huge swings came in the market. And this is how you constrain that boom bust cycle to have overall, you want like 2% growth year over year, every year for eternity. You don't want 10% growth and then the economy crashes by 40%, and then 10% growth and the economy crashes by 40%, and just goes over and over and over like that. So when we deregulate banks, when we deregulate trades, when we deregulate power companies, when we allow corporations to get huge and banks to get gigantic, we might get fast growth from that consolidation and from the fact that there's less regulation because there's a lot more crime. And then when all that crime and consolidation has a bad moment, it just crashes everything. And so we get our giant boom bust cycle as a result. And that's, every 5-7 years or whatever, maybe 10 years, we get economic shitstorm. And it's just too much. It's not healthy for for people's physical health because, losing homes, can't afford food, etc. Mental health, that's not good for your psyche, knowing that any moment you could be destitute. Or for economic health for the country because people aren't able to build wealth and savings. If they can't build wealth and savings, then they can't be consumers. If they can't be consumers, then you got nothing. If they can't go buy shit, then what are you doing? We'll find somebody else who can buy our shit. There is no one else who can buy our shit because, if the middle class is hurting, that means the poor people are hurting 10 times as much, and they're not being lifted out of that. They can't become consumers. So there needs to be a better job by regulators in this country and elsewhere in the world to put the responsibility of making sure no one gets too big. No bank should control $3 trillion in assets. No investment firm should control $5 trillion in assets. It just shouldn't happen. You have to break it into just tons of small little firms everywhere. You shouldn't have one dominant retail company. I don't think big box stores should exist. I don't think you should be able to go to a store like a Walmart that has 150,000 different products. No. Break it up. You can have a butcher shop. You can have a produce store. You can have a toy store. You can have whatever. Just break it up. Make it 5,000 products. That's as many you can have in a store. That's it. And break it all up. So you have, rather than one CEO running a company of 2 million employees making an average of, 500 or 1,000 times their salary, you now have 200 CEOs, each with a few thousand employees here and there. And it allows lots of folks to move up the ladder and to improve their lives and change jobs and compete and, brings prices down because of competition. We just need to break everything up into a lot smaller chunks. It might be more inconvenient because you can't just go to Amazon.com and get anything you want on Earth. You might be able to go to Amazon for books. You might have to go somewhere else for car parts. You might have to go over here. Just break it all up. Make it small. Put some inefficiency in there. Make people compete. And you will see inflation start to crash. Okay. David Wu, Houston, if the Twitter deal goes through and becomes a private company, why no anticipation for short squeeze like MMTLP? There may be a short squeeze still because when stuff started to get hairy with the deal, it sounds like a lot of short hedge funds started shorting Twitter and bringing the price down. It's like, this isn't going to go through. It's going to be canceled and we're going to make a fortune. But now that Elon all of a sudden is like, I'm going to buy you again, the price went back up to like $51 and a lot of folks were trying to close their short position. There may still be a squeeze on there, but I'm leaning towards Elon will sell off a huge chunk of Tesla, pay Twitter between $10 and $20 billion for the privilege not to buy them. That's what the Houston Crystal Ball is saying. Because if he buys Twitter, I think he's financially ruined. And this is because the way his finance deal was set up was he was going to have to put $80 billion in Tesla stock up as collateral to spend $20 billion for his share of Twitter, right? So it's like 3 or 4 to 1 that he was having to do. And if Tesla stock dropped at all, which it will during this economic downturn, cars are not going to get purchased because people aren't going to have the loans for them and not have the cash on hand to buy them. So car sales are going to go down. Tesla may have fewer car sales go down than other manufacturers, but they're going to have some pretty piss poor report sales. And they're going to say, we sold less cars this quarter than we did the previous quarter, which is something they haven't had to say before because they've been in a constant growth cycle. And if that happens, the Tesla stock drops to the trigger point, which I think it has to drop 40% to get to the trigger point, then Elon gets margin called. And if he gets margin called, he has to come up with a whole bunch of cash from elsewhere that he has no mechanism to get cash from elsewhere, unless maybe he sells off all of his stake in, SpaceX or whatever. And if he can't meet that margin, all that collateral, the $80 billion in shares he put up as collateral, and his, $20 billion in purchasing of Twitter go to whoever's lender is. He loses all of it, which essentially means he loses $100 billion. Oops. His financiers are now saying, we don't want to fund you anymore because it looks like this is a pretty dumb deal. Also, his interest rates prior to the economy starting to interest rates going up, the amount he's going to pay in interest every year was going to be about 1.5 times the entire revenue of Twitter. So Twitter makes, $1.5 billion a year. He's going to be paying like 2-point-something billion a year in interest just on the loan it took to buy Twitter. So he's losing almost $1 billion a year right off the bat. Now his interest rates are going to be like $3 billion a year. So he might be losing 100% on Twitter revenue every year just for the right to buy Twitter. That's not very good. Especially, if he's going to have to be selling off $1 billion a year in Tesla stock just to cover that interest rate, right? If he has to do that, the Tesla stock's going to be dropping. And again, he's going to get that trigger, that margin trigger, and they're going to take everything. So if his financing isn't working out, and the Chancery Court forces him to buy, he's going to have to do it by selling Tesla stock. So he'll probably have to sell $40+ billion in Tesla stock to purchase Twitter outright with cash. And if that's the case, that might be enough stock for Tesla investors to push him out, and he's no longer running the company anymore. He might be still one of the largest shareholders, but he won't have a majority of the shares anymore. It won't be able to be, the be-all, end-all. Plus, that $40 billion of sale, because remember, he's going to have to pay taxes on that, capital gains on almost all of that. So he can pay billions in capital gains taxes, buy Twitter, and then the value of Twitter shrinks to almost nothing. Because it's a private company now, and half the people who use Twitter are going to leave. And it's going to be rife with Nazis and all sorts of stuff. And it's going to be like Truth Social. No one's going to use it anymore. So either method for Elon buying Twitter, I think, results in him losing a huge chunk of his wealth and possibly control of Tesla, which is just dumb. So let's say he sells $10 billion in Tesla stock. He's already done like 8 or 14 this year. I can't remember how much it was. He did like 6 at the end of August. So he's got cash on hand. So if he strikes a deal with Twitter and says, look, I don't want to buy you. You don't want me to buy you. How about if I just give you like $12 billion in cash and we just call it good? My guess is Twitter will go, okay, dumbass, we'll take your $12 billion in cash. And Twitter says, hey, we made $12 billion this year. And their stock goes, woohoo, and rockets. I think that's the best bet. If I was attorneys, I'd be like, Elon, just make an offer to get rid of this deal. And because otherwise you're going to lose Tesla. And so that's my guess. And the Chancery Court basically said he has until the 28th, I think, to either buy Twitter or don't. So that is 20 days from today. So he's got 3 weeks. He's got 3 weeks from yesterday to either buy Twitter or not. And the banks are like, I'm not giving you the money. So he either has to crash the Tesla price by selling like $60 billion in shares, or not buy it and then be forced to buy it anyway. It's going to be weird. Unpaid overtime. Does Elon know what you just said? If he does, what the fuck is wrong with him? I ask myself that every day. I think he's surrounded by too many yes men who are like, Elon, you're the best, you're a genius. And he goes, I am. And not enough people going, don't do that. Don't do that, Elon. He needs more people telling him, don't do that. Now in his mind, he's like, I'm going to turn Twitter into X.com again. It's going to be the everything app. And people are like, no, you're not. It's going to be like your tubes are going to go everywhere. Look at that. Aren't the M's playing the Astros next? Are they playing the Astros? I thought they were playing the Guardians next. If they're playing the Astros, then the Mariners might be screwed because the Astros kicked the shit out of the Mariners this year. Mariners schedule. Nope, you're right. They're playing the Astros. I'm an idiot. Dang it! I thought they were playing. The Guardians. Nuts. Now the Astros beat the hell out of the Mariners. Mariners record against Astros. That's not the one I wanted. I wanted. Oh, that's not. No, not team rankings. Give me the M Cube. That's who I want. 2022. Yeah, the Mariners went 7-12 against the Astros this year. That's not a very good record. And I don't like it when you get to the playoffs and then you just play a team you already played 19 times that year. Like, play the other division. I don't want to have another 5 games of the team we've seen 19 times already. It's silly. Just mix it up a little bit more. Yeah. Meow meow. Love is a 4-letter word. Dove is a 4-letter bird. One is very costly. The other is cheap, cheap. Is what it is. Okay. Marseille. I'm in Hong Kong and I use a football broker, but it did not let me buy MMTLP. Is it the same in the US? What can I do? I don't know what brokerages outside the US let you buy OTC stocks. I have no idea. In the US, only a few brokerages allow people to buy OTC stocks. Like if we're using the app type things, the Weebles, Robinhoods, stuff like that, you can't buy OTC stocks. Only if you have the big trading platforms like TD Ameritrade, Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard. Those guys let you buy OTC stocks. So I know the Europeans are having a hard time trying to get some. So it may just be up to Americans to buy it. I don't know if anyone else can participate. Sorry. I don't know. Street. Hello, Houston. Excellent show. Why does it rain? Have you heard about RNVA 300% Friday? Yes. Was it Chillface? Was that who was talking to me about it? Was it last night? Apparently Lou is pumping RVNA. It's a stock that is normally at 0, like 0.00005. So it's half of 1/10,000th of a dollar. So 5 100,000ths of a dollar. And it went up to 2 10,000ths of a dollar. About 3 billion shares a day trade. And you have to do huge purchases of like millions upon millions of shares for a broker to even pay attention to you. I don't know why they're pumping, other than Lou is saying, get it. So my guess is he probably bought like $200,000 worth of shares, told everyone to get it, and sold his $200,000 worth of shares for a 500% gain. That'd be my guess anyway. GHK 35s in Sao Paulo. Hello. Prontal, DRV, TTT, and other short ETFs are meant to be held short term because they are ever declining assets like options. That's why they had much higher value years ago. Solid. Dan Marjolo, Houston, what will happen to my AVCT $1 calls? Did you buy those before their reverse split? If so, you might be screwed because I think those $1 calls became like $14 calls as a result. And my guess is they aren't worth anything. That's why those reverse splits, like that happened with me with the whole Spurt Gree merger / reverse split. It was trading like $30. I had $35 calls. I was like, cool. And then they did a reverse split and my call options went from like $1,000 to a penny. And then that was it. They're like, all right, sorry. Cool. Thanks. Thanks for doing that. I really, really appreciate that. Monkey butt. Monkey butt. Get up. Get up on your thing, monkey. Get up on your thing. Come on. Say hi to everybody. I can scratch your belly for you. I can do that. I've got fingernails. Get up there. Get up there, buddy. Yeah. There you go. That's the good spot. Everyone get a shot of a good... Oh, the camera's frozen. Why did you freeze again, you little jerk? Well, I can't get a shot of monkey's butt except there. Monkey Cam died again. Elgato, you guys have some splaining to do. Guitar stuff, you cannot be further from the ocean in North America than these trees. Let's see where you mean. It's our first coordinate of the evening. Google Earth, turn you on. We're going to leave San Diego and Houston's old casa and go to those trees. Boom. This is the furthest point from the ocean in North America. Where are we? I wasn't really paying attention. We are in South Dakota. We're in southern South Dakota, just south of the Badlands. If you have a chance to go to the Badlands, go. It is really cool. So these trees are the furthest from the ocean in North America. I mean, that's kind of cool. Got a little Badlands-ish erosion happening in the valleys there. Looks like you're pretty much far from everything out here. There is a fence line. That does look like a fence. So we do have some in a little road. Maybe a little ranch house here. What the hell is this? And a giant purple baby shaker? What is that thing? Oh, I can't see the baby shaker. Never mind. What's the closest town to this place? Is there any? Places. Doink. Is that it? That's all you got for me? Maybe Alan there. Porcupine, Kyle, Hissel. Huh. Huh. All right, there you go. Furthest place from the ocean. Jose Rosario, what is the minimal amount of MMTLP will go for? Also, what is the time frame for it to go private? I was reading that the S1s normally take about 45 days to be approved. So that would be maybe towards the end of November. If it's approved, I think it's a 15-day window between they say, all right, we've been approved. We're going private in 15 days. And so there'll be a 15-day window to close out all the short positions. As for the minimal amount MMT will go for, I'm expecting $30 to $60 per share as profit from when they sell the oil lands. Again, Bird Lady's calculating like 5 times that, up to $300 a share, which I think is a bit high. So if you diamond hand through the closing of positions that people are going to have to do before they go private, hold for as high as you want. Because as long as you're okay with like $30 to $60 a share, you should be making quite the profit off of that. So if it goes for hundreds or thousands, woohoo, I'm going to go on vacation for a long time. Monkey butt, we're getting an earth roamer. That's what's happening. But outside of that, whatever your price is, man. William Morgan seems pretty confident that because there is no halts on the OTC, that the price can go real high in those 15 days while they're trying desperately to close. The price we're seeing right now could be from 2 things. It could be from FOMO. People are like, oh, this thing's going to go private. We should probably get in there. And the shorts may be getting the price up there to shake a bunch of people loose because they're doubling their money right now. They probably bought in at like $1.30 and now it's worth $2.60. So, 100% profit. Cool. Most people are pretty happy about that. But, if we're seeing something that's going to be 1,000% profit, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000% profit, wait. And so, these hands are going to be diamonds when the time comes. Lost Waves, where are the best places to live in the States for pollen allergies? I'm only allergic to tree pollen, and I would love to never be in the Pacific Northwest from basically the middle of March to the end of April ever again. If I could just take those 6 weeks and go somewhere else, I will. And if I get MOAS money, you will not see me anywhere near the Seattle area between basically the middle of March and the end of April. Monkey Butt and I will be somewhere else in the world, breathing and not sneezing. Telling our Zyrtec, I don't need you today because there is no cedar pollen going around. Flower pollen, on the other hand, I guess you want to go where flowers don't grow. So you want to, like, I don't know, go to northern Ontario from November to April and then hop on a plane and go to like Tierra del Fuego from April till October, something like that, and then avoid flowers altogether. William Morgan, eat local honey to help with local allergens. It is also, it's an old wives' tale, but it does seem to work. I do load up on local honey. Problem is that there aren't really any bees that make honey out of cedar pollen, so that part doesn't help me so much. Eating the bees will help forgetting about the allergies. That's Monkey's method. She loves to she loves flying flying popcorn, which is flies, and then she loves flying jalapeno poppers, which are the hornets. Nom, 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 nom. She loves eating them, getting stung by them, and then whining about it. Meow meow. If bank providing a hedgie fails, does the hedgie get margin called? How would short positions close with the money gone? Bailouts. The bank will have to get bailouts, or the debt will be assumed by the Federal Reserve, or the FDIC will take it on, probably. Basically, the bank goes down. I'm failing. I can't meet my obligations. I'm not going to be able to have the money for my customers' checking accounts or whatever. FDIC jumps in, seizes the bank, goes, your bank, no longer yours, it is ours. Then that night, the FDIC talks to the Fed and all the members, and they're like, okay, I have this bank and its assets, who want it? And they throw out some bids, and by morning, the FDIC has selected someone, so okay, you're going to buy this bank's assets for $1 billion. Here are all their assets, they're now your customers. And the debt then goes to the government. The government goes, shit. Here you go, Fed. And the Fed goes, derivative swaps. Blah, and they do things with it. That's likely what happens when the bank goes down. The ownership of the promissory notes on those hedge funds will probably be considered assets and would go to the next bank. So like, let's say Wells Fargo lent out a bunch of money to hedge funds, and the ownership of that debt is an asset. Like, we own $1 billion that they owe us. So that asset would probably transfer to Chase or whoever buys up the skeleton of Wells Fargo. And then Chase, JP Morgan would say, okay, hedge fund, give us $1 billion. And the hedge fund go, I don't have $1 billion. And Chase goes, shit. And then they crash and then they go to Goldman Sachs or whatever. I don't know. So that's my guess is that hedge fund debt transfers because it's considered an asset. Guitar Stuff Houston, I wasn't surprised with Robbie Ray poor showing. It was Seward's inning that was alarming. Yeah. Robbie Ray, our room and I were talking about this. Like, if he falters, that's it. Just take him out. He's not having his day. He doesn't seem to rebound. And this season was very much like, I'm playing shit. I'm having the best game in the entire season. I'm playing shit. I'm having the best game in the entire season. There was really no kind of in-between period for him. So either he's absolutely lights out or, he's going to suck ass for you that day. Sandy Sapien, you still reckon a post-term crash? Yeah, I think they might be able to hold it together for another month. And I don't think it'll be able to hold together much longer than that, but it's gonna be cutting it close. Just in case, can I still buy MMTLP? I'm in Canada. Am I too late? Can Canadian stocks trade American OTC? I don't know, Tristan. That would be a question for your broker. I have no idea. Can you guys trade OTC? I know we can trade a bunch of Canadian stocks, somehow make it on the OTC all the time. I don't know if you guys can. The way the brokerages work and why some people can buy some stocks in different places, I have no idea why it seems to be so arbitrary. David Morgan, Indiana Jones, and the Search for Credit Suisse. Irish Cowboy. We are also about to find out a lot of stuff about Sears soon. The Sears Reddit has been popping lately. Eric Moore is a beast. Yes, apparently the 28th is also when the Sears bankruptcy is done, apparently. The legal filing was like 2 pages and didn't really quite delve into what that means. But, yeah, end of the month. I think the creditors have until the 17th or the 20th or somewhere in there to say, like, no, we disagree with this. And if they don't, then it's done. They had Sears put like $30 million off to the side in case creditors come forward asking for more stuff. But otherwise, I guess they're done with bankruptcy at the end of the month, which is a little sooner than I thought. I was figuring probably Christmas time or something. So, maybe the Sears stock starts being worth something coming up. We'll still have the Q on it if it's out of bankruptcy. I don't know. Meow meow. Most disturbing movie ever made is Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell, 2015. I have never seen Bone Tomahawk. Bone Tomahawk. I don't ever heard of Bone Tomahawk. Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, Richard Jenkins, David Arquette, Lily Simmons. 3.9 out of 5 stars. Is Bone Tomahawk too violent? In the dying days of an Old West, an elderly sheriff and his posse set out to rescue their town's doctor from a cannibalistic cave dwellers. Well, that sounds awesome. Okay. Oh, I've never heard of this movie. Western Horde took a bite. Alright, I'm game. Bone Tomahawk it is, meow meow. Load that one up. Wonder what it's streaming on. We'll find out. Thank you for the recommendation. Oh, and Primer. People are saying... I still haven't watched Primer yet. I think it's on my list already, and I'm just not doing my list. Okay. Board Gamer Houston, if an alien planet were to see our planet, what would they see? Like, would Earth look like a star, or would they be able to see our lights, etc.? If their system is set up like our own, which would mean, like, when we see an extrasolar planet, and only in the last 15 years have we been able to, like, find extrasolar planets optically, be able to measure them from, like, the star wobbling as the planet goes around. Because think about, like, pick up a sibling when they're small and you kind of swing around a circle and, you know, you kind of wobble as you're swinging them around. The star does the same thing. It kind of wobbles a little bit as the gravitational forces of the planet go around. So we can measure that wobble and say, oh, there's a planet there. But then we actually resolved in a few instances, the little dot of a planet next to a star. I think the first time was around 2005 with the Keck telescope. And since then we've had a couple more. The James Webb telescope did one just a few weeks ago. And when we see that little dot, usually have to block out the sun, so the sun doesn't have any light bleeding out the CCD, and we see this tiny little itty bitty speck. So it looks like a teeny tiny little faint star. But we can get enough light from that to pass it through a spectrometer, and we can figure out what the atmosphere of that planet is made up of. So we can see the atmosphere of the planet via the spectral lines of the planet, what gets absorbed, what light comes out. And that's probably how aliens would see Earth, is they would block out our sun, see a couple little dots of the various planets in the system, and then they would focus that light onto a spectrometer, break it apart into a giant rainbow, and then see where the absorption lines are. And those absorption lines will indicate what the atmosphere is made of. So for us, we have absorption lines for nitrogen, oxygen, a little bit for carbon, a little bit for helium, a little bit for argon. But for the most part, you wouldn't see, a whole bunch big strong ones for helium or big strong ones for hydrogen like you would in Jupiter or Saturn. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a planet that's got a little faint dot, hopefully a little blue faint dot, and we can put it into a spectrometer and see an Earth-like atmosphere. My guess is most of the planets we'll look at will probably have an atmosphere closer to Jupiter, Saturn, or Mars, Venus. And Mars, Venus is really carbon CO2 heavy, like 97% CO2. So if we see planets that have 97% CO2 in their atmosphere, go, oh, it's probably a rocky planet, but it's probably a miserable hellhole like Venus or Mars. Oh, well, we want one that's got like boatloads of oxygen and nitrogen in the atmosphere. And then we go, wee, we're going to go take you. And then we start developing giant ships, and we go, and then we discover that, there's viruses that will kill us off and we can't colonize, or there's some weird, alien doomsday device or something. I don't know. Anyway, it'll be interesting. Kiffle, where can you buy MMTLP? I was restricted from doing so on Fidelity. You can through Fidelity. You have to call and spend a half an hour on the phone with the Fidelity broker saying, I understand that it's a weird stock and you guys don't want to sell it, but I want to put my money towards it, so fucking do it. And they go, what? We don't want to sell it to you. And you go, do it now. And they go, fine. And then they push the order through. You can't do it on Fidelity. You can't do it on Schwab. You can't do it on TD. You can't do it on E-Trade. You just have to call the broker and say, do it, and do it now. And then they go, fine, I will. And it takes a half an hour of being a pain in the ass to the poor broker on the phone. But you can do it in Fidelity. David Morgan, Indiana Jones, and the search to spin off Credit Suisse talks assets on someone. David William Morgan, even though the dividend payout for MMTLP looks like it will be approximately $50 to $80, it can squeeze significantly higher. That it can. Because you cannot hold shorts on a stock that no longer exists. You can't. And if they get to like that last day and there's still, millions of short shares that exist, the brokers have an obligation to liquidate those who hold those short positions, drain them of everything they have, and to forcefully buy on the market at whatever price is available to get those shares before it closes. Otherwise, the broker might get liquidated. So they're going to have to close those positions. And I have no idea at this point how many of those positions exist. None. But if they're shorting at 21 cents and the MMTLP is trading at 260 or whatever it is right now, they're losing money closing those positions. And if they did 1 billion shares, that's $2.6 billion they got to come up with. So 2.4 billion, whatever. They got to come up with a lot of money they may not have to do it. Arthur Martin, worse than a steampunk chump. That's about the couple in Port Townsend, isn't it? William Morgan, MMTLP has more shorts and synthetics to cover than Volkswagen did when it squeezed to 1,300. Yeah. The one difference is that, a huge chunk of it is owned by Metamaterials, so there's that. Yeah. David Morgan can't wait for the sequel, Indiana Jones and the search for a prosecutor with the balls to prosecute a bank. He's assuming the DeLorean is just a car. Well, maybe they got the DeLorean from Doc from Back to the Future 3. Did you ever think about that, Houston? Huh? Did you ever think about that DeLorean originated from the 1890s in Southern California? No, I bet you didn't think about that. And Marty took the car back then. Does interactive brokers sell MMTLP? I think you can do OTC stocks, interactive brokers. You may have to call your broker and yell at them to get them to do it. But yeah. David Morgan, so many swaps. Someone's going to get caught holding the bag. Well, holding the hot potato, not the bag. Just like Credit Suisse got caught with Archegos. Exactly. Someone has that debt. And someone owns that obligation now. And they're going, durr, durr, durr. But they would probably had something terrible they'd trade with somebody else. So like, haha, loser. Oh, that's what I have. Nuts. And that's what they're sitting on. Julianne, thank you. I keep trying to tell my boss that, but they believe it caused gas prices to go up. No. Gas prices are up because OPEC cut back, and there is not enough natural gas getting to Europe for them to refine diesel. Those are the two big reasons. So diesel can't get refined in Europe because you need natural gas to pull out the sulfur and during the distillation process, and they don't have enough natural gas to do it right now because war in Ukraine. They get most of their gas from Nord Stream. Nord Stream's now was being restricted, is now broken, and it's too expensive. So the big reason why gas prices are so high is due to how much diesel Europe needs and they can't get right now. SJ, for those of us overseas and able to buy MMTLP, what guarantee is there that metamaterial will also surge and squeeze? This is the part that my brothers want me to talk about. If the oil sands sell, metamaterial stands to make a bunch of money. That's how. That's all I will say on that. Did I say oil sands? Oil leases sell. If oil leases sell, they'll make a bunch of money. Sadboy Incorporated Houston, when do you see GME bouncing from its low to 30 plus? I'm hoping this week. I've got calls that I bought yesterday with the hopes that it will be for next week. It's OPEX. There's XRT when they went on the thresholds list 2 weeks ago. This is when they're coming due this coming week. I think on the 11th. So I'm hoping that there's some buying and there's some green for GME. My entire goal is to get as much as I can out of that green throughout the week. If there's a little gamma squeeze for the following Monday, woohoo. And then I take all of that, whatever's left, and I'm going to buy MMTLP with it. And just hope that goes woohoo with it as well. Yeah. Amara Sella, is buying metamaterial a substitute for MMTLP? No, they're separate. MMTLP owns Meta owns a bunch of MMTLP, but they're separate. So, no, it is not a substitute. BOFH Houston, are we in the final countdown already? It seems like things in the market are snowballing out of control much faster than the banks can keep it under control and sooner than I expected. Yeah, I think we are. I think we are T-minus something. T-minus implosion of somebody, whether it's UBS, Credit Suisse, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, freaking Lloyd's. I don't know. Someone huge is going to go down at some point in like the next 5 weeks. And then everyone's go, oh no! Ah! And it's probably going to be dominoes as soon as the realization of what took them down and how it's toxic to other people. And then you'll have all these guys in their Bloomberg terminals opening up weird files they didn't know existed and going, oh shit, Goldman Sachs has all that too. And we're going to get that just perpetuating itself over and over and over. Mark Humans, Webull says my MMTLP is not tradable. Should I transfer it to another broker? I thought Webull made it so that it was close only. I don't think you can buy on Webull, but I think you can sell. Because Webull doesn't deal in OTC, but I think they made it so it's close only. I would ask them, and if that's the case, you might be okay. If not, you might want to transfer those out. Kevin Rejonen in 1929's White Sox, 2008 Red Sox. Is that the 7 runs down winners? Some nice rare event. Marcela. Oh no, that's the question you asked already. Countdown question. Oh, then the chat resets. I gotta scroll back up again. Where am I? Where am I? I wasn't there. 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 Where am I? Oh my goodness, I gotta scroll up high. I'm so far behind. Goodness gracious, how far behind am I? Oh, there's the final countdown question. Okay, here we go. Hey Jahe, TwitchCon is happening in San Diego right now. Gotta represent GeoGuessr. Would be cool to meet you. I'm not going to make it to San Diego anytime soon. I'm sorry. I'd love to go. Maybe next year? I've not done a Twitch in a while either. I need to get on that and do a Twitch stream. It's been a while since I played in GeoGuessr. I've been bad. I keep saying, oh, I'll do it this weekend, and then I end up not doing it. So I need to do some more Twitch. What do you think, Monkey? Tomorrow night? Can you do some tomorrow night? Maybe late tonight. Get a second wind after this? Maybe. David Morgan, Indiana Jones, and the quest to cooperate with the feds to avoid security fraud charges. Tremendous on Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day. Stock markets will trade, but bond markets won't as Americans enjoy their annual 3-day weekend. Okay, so the stocks are open on Monday, but bonds are not open on Monday. So it's a weird trading week in general. Mon Hoden, if you're still using Robinhood, all respect is lost and unsubscribing. Okay, later, man. I don't use the trade stocks. I use it specifically for options and options only. Because it's just easier than any other app out there. It's just easier. And I'll fully admit that. Jason Blackwell, Houston, number 6 in the Gary Gensler list is DTCC open door policy. So we know exactly what the true float is on every stock. I know I'm dreaming on that one. That's a good one to add to the list. Number 6. True. I like that. Open door policy. I'm going to write that one down. Number 6. How'd you word that? True float is on every stock. True float on every stock. Okay. I like that one. Number 6. That's a good number 6 to add to the list for when we go lobby. Okay. Drew, are you still not scared about Fidelity? I'm getting kind of nervous after seeing they voted against Gimi dividend. I mean, Vanguard seems to have our back more than anything. Vanguard voted like, woohoo, let's split that stock. They went for everything on the vote for sure. So maybe Vanguard, the way to go. Scott Lumley, Houston, what is your favorite pie? Apple, pumpkin, pecan, lemon meringue, or pie of Africa? Pumpkin. Hey, Georgia. Welcome being awake for a show. I know I got no Euros in here because they're all asleep right now. Maybe we got some Aussies enjoying their Sunday somewhere. 2. Stupid question. Can retail borrow and hold shares instead of buying 10 shares, borrow and hold 100 for a year? If you have margins set up with your account, you can borrow shares. You can specifically borrow shares to short or whatever. But the whole point of borrowing those shares is to sell them when the price is high and then wait for the price to drop, go back in, buy them, and return. That's the whole point of borrowing shares. LAP27 Houston, do you believe the government will give us $1,000 per share in GME? If this happens, AMC too would make sense to buy more for AMC instead of GME because they're cheaper. I mean, people constantly ask about the government stepping in and doing some sort of structured settlement, but I think $1,000 a share is way too low. The people will have a hissy fit if it's $1,000 a share, and that may bite the government back on its ass. I think it would have to be much, much higher than $1,000 a share for a settlement price. Drew, I think some of the bank's earnings are due in the morning, but when I try to go buy puts, there are like 30 different tickers for all the banks and no options on Webull when I look. I think a lot of those tickers are for debt that's held by those or bonds by those banks. So it might not necessarily be the bank tickers themselves, but probably like, Bank of America BD21T, and it's some sort of weird bond, and then you'd be shorting the bond or something. I'd be looking at that. Or it might be investment portfolios they have. It might be some sort of ETF that they set up, or mutual fund that they have. So I would look for just the specific bank itself without any weird letters. Like, isn't Citibank just like C or something? And Wells Fargo WF. These are pretty simple ticker listings. William Morgan, markets are open Monday, banks are closed Monday. There you go. Raphael Fidelis, please talk about Ape and AMC. Ape is getting hammered, absolutely hammered right now. They're going to try and do whatever they can to drive that price down. And my guess is most of that price getting driven down is because every single transaction is going through a dark pool and the price isn't being reported. Therefore, it looks like demand is non-existent. And despite the fact that there's more buy than sell, the price is going down, which should be something Gary Gensler looks at and goes, "Oh, that's obvious price manipulation." But he's not. He's going, la 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 la, dark pools are fine. And he needs to not. We need to not be dealing with dark pools at all, any way, shape, or form, for anything ever. Anonymous, Houston, what are your thoughts on Highcroft HYMC? Their report they did from their drills was incredibly surprising. I mean, they were finding like 4 ounces per ton in some of those drills, which is really, really high. Most gold mines can operate just fine at a 1/4 ounce per ton, but they're finding 4. So they're finding like 16 times the normal amount for an economic mine. What they weren't saying, though, was whether that was high-grade ore or if that was sulfide ore, like gold trapped in sulfides, which is what they've been dealing with the strip mine that they took over is that it's most of that metal, that silver and gold, is locked in these sulfides, and the sulfides are really hard to separate from the metals, and it's a very, very, very expensive process, and you need a huge facility to do it. So you need to spend like $1 billion just to build the facility to process all the ore to get the metals out. And if you can get the $1 billion, you might make 20 or 30 billion getting that stuff processed. It's getting over the hump of being able to build a facility that can handle that much ore and to process it. And I don't think Highcroft has a chance at the moment to either sell enough stock to get it or to borrow enough money to start construction of a facility like that. And if they do start construction, they're still going to be a year and a half, 2-3 years away from being able to start processing the ore that way. And they got notified that they need to get their stock up above $1 or else they're going to get delisted. And if they get delisted, then it's going to be open season on shorting them all over again. And, their stock's getting shorted. It's hard to borrow money. And then they're going to have to offer more shares, but they'll make more money, and then they're just going to get seller boxed, and it's going to be just hell. So I don't necessarily know what the solution is unless maybe they partner with other gold mines in the area and they all together build a huge sulfide facility so that the other mines there have something they can use. That might be the best method. Come up with that $1 billion in cash in this economy. Might be rough. But let's say AMC strikes a deal for $12 a share for someone to buy 450 million ape shares. They'll pay off their debt, have $1 billion extra, and they go, hey, HYMC, we're going to take a larger interest in this mine, and we're going to fund the construction of this sulfide facility. That might be the way to do it. Or maybe they could give the loan. I don't know. Something like that. Not my name, Houston, since I dove headfirst into droning, since I sent you that clip from inside the state capitol. I've booked a bar in Alaska and a high school for marketing purposes, and yes, I got certified. Legit. Fantastic. Yeah, Not My Name sent me a cool video. It was the Minnesota Capitol that you were in, I think it was. And he was flying a drone like inside the Capitol building. It was pretty nifty. And he was paranoid he's going to get arrested for it. But obviously he didn't. So good for you getting away with that. The Paleo Trucker. Would I get more money for Torchlight by waiting on the dividend or sell my shares when it rips? It's a question the wife and I haven't a clue. I'm going to assume that the payout when they sell the oil fields will be between 30 and 60. If it's more than that, fantastic, but I'm just going to set my hopes that somewhere in that window. So if the stock price screams in those 15 days before they turn private and it goes well above that, I'll probably go check please and sell. So that's what I'll do. I'll probably sell my shares if I think the price is going to go, and if it Volkswagen squeezes to $1,000, fantastic. I will gladly take that money. So, I might wait till like the last possible day and see where the price is before I make that decision. But, money's money. I want to get as many of those shares as I can because I know it's going to sell for much more than what you're paying for them now. J. King, Houston, good morning to you and company. I was looking for your Friday, but you surprised me with a Saturday show. Great surprise. Yeah, sorry. I ended up not doing a show yesterday. I had a lovely time. Monkey butt. Had a lovely time. We just, sometimes you just go do other things. Can't do a show. Every once in a while, I just have to go live my life. Giancarlo Cardenas. Cardenas? I hope I said that right. Yo, Mariners clutch today, man. I know. Absolutely. Just, dude, fantastic. I cannot wait for some home games during the playoffs so we can get some walk-off celebrations, because walk-off celebrations are just nuts. That home run today for Cleveland, that's the type of absolute bonkers, I just made the game over and I'm a hero in extra innings and everyone's just going to just jump all over me and slap me in the face and just have a great time. And do it at home. Oh, it's just beautiful. You win on the road, you're like celebrating in front of a bunch of people who are completely just heartbroken and dejected and want to just go cry. And you're like, woo, I won, yay! And you're surrounded by 60,000 people who just want you to die. The celebration isn't quite as good. All right. People have discussions about what brokers can do with those. Project on the genome of the Toratopsis dorni immortal jellyfish has been sequenced. I know those weird little guys. I think they're in the Mediterranean. If you don't know about that jellyfish, they start out little babies and they grow 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 and they get to big old jellyfish, and all of a sudden they reverse and they go back to tiny little babies again and they start all over again. And as far as you can tell, unless they get just like eaten, they don't die. They live forever. They just go back to like being little babies and start all over again. I'd be very curious to see what genetic triggers they can find in there that cause that. Can you imagine, like, you get to be like a creaky old 100-year-old, then all of a sudden your body just Benjamin Buttons and you just become younger and younger and younger and younger and younger to turn into like a toddler again, and you just start all over. Does your brain refresh? Or would you get to keep your memories and be like, well, goo goo gaga, I'm going to do this again. I'm heading to the bar. I might be a 108-year-old baby, but you know what? I got driver's license. But jellyfish don't really have brains to begin with, so they don't have to worry about trying to maintain. They just work on pure instinct and alone. Basically just a brainstem with tentacles. They are cool fish, though. They might be the oldest things ever. We've never seen one die naturally. Or like you get cancer and they trigger a little gene in your body and go back and regrow an arm. I don't know. Crazy. Those fish are crazy. Spencer, no one can do anything about the fact that everything is going to all-time lows so that retail can get shaken out of before everything rips again. Yeah. They've been trying to shake the paper hands loose, and the paper hands are gone. Those guys are long gone. They got out back in 9 months ago. AMC Bull, Houston, you still bullish on Revlon? I am. I've got my calls, and I'm waiting. I'm patiently waiting. Waiting for the news. There's talk that might go private. If that's the case, then we might have something sort of like MMTLP, except with call options involved. Right, monkey? Why are you chewing on your butt? You're a butt chewer. You're a butt chewer. Drew, my parents don't believe me when I'm telling them, like, stop wasting money and save it. They think the economy, especially around our area, will be fine. Okay, whatever, I tried to help. Yeah, the economy is going to tank, and it's going to tank hard, and it's going to be I think it's going to be a very long bear market. Because we don't have the tools that we normally have, we've got stagflation. So Normally, when the economy just collapses, we go, oh no, we have to cut interest rates and spur investment. And then the economy starts climbing again as all this money starts passing around. Well, we have too much money and interest rates are crazy high. And if the economy collapses, we don't have the ability to cut those interest rates because inflation will explode again, keeping everything depressed. But if we don't cut interest rates, everything's going to be depressed. So we may be stuck in kind of a stagnant 1970s situation where interest rates are climbing and climbing and climbing and the economy is just garbage. And then finally, at some point, we get inflation under control back down to like 2%. And all right, we can start cutting interest rates again and getting money flowing through the economy. So I don't think there's going to be a quick rebound like there was 08, 09 when the market, the Dow dropped to like 6,000 in March 2009 and then started a nice steady climb back up out of that deep, dark pool. And, if you invested your money into the S&P March 09, you made it back in spades ever since. So, but that's because we could do quantitative easing, have the monetary policy to cut interest rates, give banks loans essentially zero negative percentage even, and they could give people loans for homes and for cars and everything else. We could start spending. But right now, the entire goal is to get people to stop spending so that we can get inflation down. And to get people to stop spending means you have to hurt them. You have to hurt them real bad. You have to make them hurt and not be able to afford anything, which means every business is going to get affected. And it's just going to be brutal. Hopefully we can do it quickly. Bill Spivak, have you read The Creature from Jekyll Island? Thoughts on IMF and Federal Reserve, cartel, global standard currency? I have not read The Creature from Jekyll Island. Is it about the IMF or is it about like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? No. But the IMF and Federal Reserve, cartel, global standard currency. We sort of almost have a global standard currency in the US dollar because that's what's used to buy most commodities and oil and gas and things like that. And there's lots of countries who have adopted the US dollar as an official currency. Liberia, Zimbabwe did it years ago when they wanted to stop their inflation. They've said, okay, one Zimbabwe dollar and one US dollar, we're done. And their runaway inflation stopped. And then they decoupled. Now inflation's going through all over again. I don't know if you are going to be able to get a bunch of different countries on board with that, namely because oftentimes having your own currency is a power play for the government. And if the government can restrict who can have currency when and where, and they can print when they want, they would rather have their own currency. If they lose that power and are now dependent upon an outside global bank, whether it is the IMF or World Bank or big American banks or the American Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, they're not going to want to play with that because they will have to be dependent upon somebody else to print money. And one of the reasons why oftentimes these small little countries that are led by dictators and stuff, they'll gladly take US dollars, but let their peons play with their crappy funny money because that's just how it works. Okay, you can take all of our resources for US dollars, but my people will pay them in our crap garbage that we don't care about. And that's what they can deal with. And then they have no power to leave the country, such as Venezuela. Venezuela, due to sanctions, can't get hard currency. And so their currency is worth dip doodle. But when they were able to sell their oil in the open market, they gladly took US dollars for it. And then, the peons can play with their funny money Venezuelan dollars. But now that there's no incoming US dollars, they're running a problem with that. But I don't think they would want to have a standard global currency that's tied that way. I don't know. It seems like there'd be a giant mental block for a lot of sort of despotic states to come to terms with that. And as long as those types of states exist, I just can't see a global currency working. Boom, boom, boom. Sorry, scrolling, trying to find. Drew, it's weird when he using cusses because he's a teacher. I cuss too much. I try not to, but sometimes you just need to get that emphasis on the syllable there, and it helps. My students all go when I do. Carlos R. Hola, Wade. What do you know about GTII? Thank you. Nothing. It's squeezing, and that's all I know. I found out about it too late, so I did not participate. They had touched 6, and then we're bouncing around at 5. Let's look at what they're at right now. What are they doing here? 5.25. So they're kind of flattened out a little bit. They went from 65 cents, peaked at 6.68, and now just kind of hovering a little bit above $5. I don't know when the next wave will be, if there's next wave, but some folks are saying that, you know, it's going to squeeze to hundreds. It's an OTC stock, so it can do crazy stuff. It's up 650% in the last month. That's pretty darn good return. Fuck Mars, Team Earth. Yes, fix Earth, forget about Mars. Treachermanus, need to do a Houston Wade drip rap music video with your shirts. We got 208 shows, which means we got 208 shirts. Because even the shirts I wear on vacation, when I'm not wearing the fancy shirts, I think I still want a different one for each one of those shows. So, yeah, we're at 208 shirts right now. This one you may see probably for the next few weeks. As long as the Mariners still in it, I might still be wearing this one. Just because, you know, it's been 21 years since the Mariners have been able to play in the playoffs, and I'm celebrating. I am 41 years old, and I was 20 the last time the Mariners went to the playoffs. Like, I have a lot more of this, a lot less of this. My vision's a lot more terrible. I'm a geezer now, and I'm finally getting to see the Mariners in the playoffs once again. Evan Howe, Houston enjoyed listening. Is troubled by your poster as ad space for rent. Should be ad. Oh, it is. Does say that. I am not an editor, nor did I make this. There we go. Jersey, 1D. Jersey wrote that for me. He's Polish. He's English second language. We can forgive him. I don't have an excuse. I just can't spell to save my life. Local honey and royal jelly. Pankaj Kumar, Boss Blunts mentioned AMC1 option in your last call. Where can I buy AMC1 options? It's not available on any app. Through Fidelity, you can get it, and you may have to call to do it. That's what I've heard from people, is that they've had to call the broker, just like with MMTLP. You got to call the broker, say I want this, and the broker goes, I don't want to give it to you. And you go, God damn it, put the order in. And they go, fine. And they put the order in. Apparently trying to fill those AMC1 options is getting really hard right now. Like a few weeks ago, Boss Blunt said you could put an order in and they'd fill like instantaneously. And I put an order in for 100 of them, and like 1 or 2 fill here and there. So my guess is people are starting to hold on to them, and they're not writing any new options. So the options writers were like, yeah, we're not touching this thing with a 10-foot pole, and are staying away from writing new ones. Mike Air, I'm Canadian, but Mariners earned wins in Toronto. That was a crazy game, and I hope Springer's okay. That collision was no fun. I think he got his bell rung pretty hard. That's a bummer of a way to go out, too, especially for the Mariners to tie on a play like that. But, oh, man. Two dudes going all out trying to get that ball to save their playoff game, and just, looked like he hit the arm of, who was it they hit the arm of? Guy that hit the homers today, right? Monkey, you gotta help me. You're watching the game too, Monkey. You just not answering me at all. Spear? Ah, crap. I don't know my Canadians very well. UFO video addicts. It's a complete farce that's going to take a total global collapse for this play to evolve the way it's technically supposed to. Yep. Because they've got too many terrible little loopholes they can play with while they still have, assets. And we need to close every single one of those loopholes, reduce the ability to naked short stuff, and get the market mechanics back to how the companies are performing. And let liquidity be taken care of by the companies themselves. Like, if GameStop wanted to release more shares to keep their price at $25 or whatever, they should be allowed to do it. The market maker should not be allowed to make that choice without them. And if there's no shares available to sell, the price should go up. It shouldn't be the market maker goes, well, there's no shares to sell, so I'm going to just make 1 million of them and sell those, and we're going to keep this price right down here. That's not how it should work. It should be GameStop being like, we're going to release 1 million more shares into the market and keep the price down. It should not be up to some other company that's nothing to do with GameStop to do that, or with Sears, or with Blockbuster, or with AMC, or with Bed Bath & Beyond, or with everything. They should not be allowed to do it a single time at all, ever. It should be only up to the company itself and their shareholders whether more shares get released and liquidity gets added to the market. That's it. Never, ever, 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 ever should it be up to an outside company that is not that company itself. That's just counterfeiting. And it should be illegal. We need to stop it. Now. Stop it. Gary Gensler, stop it now. Jon Stewart, if you're watching this because you're prepping for your interview with Gary Gensler, stop allowing them to counterfeit securities and essentially print money legally. End it. No loopholes for market makers. No T35s if you do sell a security you don't have, 35 days trying to come up with it. No, just don't do it. If it can't clear, you punish them severely and send people to prison for counterfeiting securities. That's so simple. And then let all this crap trade at the price level it should. So, Jon Stewart, watch this and then talk to Gary Gensler about that, because that's the crap that's happening and needs to end. You wouldn't let me on my laser printer just print out $30 billion in hundreds. Just go down, head on down to good old Rite Aid, pick up a whole bunch of reams of paper, print out a whole bunch of laser printed $100 bills, and go hand them out as IOUs. Like, this isn't a real $100 bill. This is an IOU. So I'm going to give you this $100 bill for a real $100 bill, and I'm going to owe you $100 later, and then just skip town. I wouldn't be allowed to. I'll go to prison, right? So why can Citadel print a whole bunch of fake shares that aren't real, trade them for money, and go, I'll get you, but I don't have to, because there's actually a loophole written into Reg Show where I never actually have to make good on this deal. You're going to have a fake share forever. Sorry. It's the law. It's dumb. And we really need to stop doing that, because it's destroying our economy, literally, not figuratively. It is literally destroying our economy by causing valiant companies to collapse to the point where they can't make good on their bonds, they can't pay their employees or their vendors, they can't rehab shops or upgrade equipment, and they collapse. And the other option is for them to spend whatever profit they have on doing stock buybacks to try and bolster their stock price. But if they do that, they're not giving their employees living wages. They aren't, renovating or maintaining equipment. They're not doing R&D research to improve their business outcomes in the future because they're trying to constantly combat the naked shorting that these market guys and all these assholes at these short hedge funds are doing over and over and over. And the Americans are spending all of their resources battling themselves. We should not be doing that. We should be spending our resources in making us the strongest country we possibly can with the strongest economy we possibly can at all times. But we're not. We're spending trillions of dollars a year to destroy our own businesses, and then those businesses are having to liquidate themselves in order to battle being destroyed, which just destroys them further in the end anyway. So you end up with crap like, baby formula not getting made because we had to spend a whole bunch of money on stock buybacks rather than, not letting poisonous bacteria into baby formula at the factory. So we just, it's just so fucking frustrating. The answer is so simple, but no one will do it because the folks who are winning in this system are making way too much money at it. When all we need to do is just transfer who's winning. We can let a couple of hedge fund douchebags win, or we can let companies that employ thousands or millions of people to win. Which one seems like a better thing for the economy? Hedge fund douchebag or 1 million employees? I don't know. I'm going to go with hedge fund douchebag because they spent $10,000 on my campaign. It's just so dumb. It's the dumbest thing we have. And every single day, I'm just like, this is just so stupid. All we have to do is just make it illegal to sell securities you don't have. And not only that, they're shorting the heck out of our treasury bonds. They're shorting the U.S. government. They are selling $250 to $1 trillion a year in treasury bonds that do not exist. Wouldn't the federal government like to receive, say, $1 trillion instead of just some random market maker? That would make sense to me, right? They're literally shorting our government. Just how'd that start? UFO addicts. There we go. Yeah. Their question. Anyway. How far am I? I'm an hour behind the chat still. Okay. Unpaid overtime. What you just said can only happen with the French Revolution when their heads are on spikes. Please don't ban me. I'm not banning you. I'm guillotine the hell out of those guys. I'll pull that lever all day long watching heads roll into baskets. I have no problem with it. If they're not going to fix the system with the most simple solution, which is you should not be allowed to sell things you don't have, then, chop. I'm okay with that. You have my permission. Unpaid overtime. Totally works for me. BOFH Houston, are we on track for Phase 6 induced margin call defaults by the end of October, or will it last until post-election? Seems like things are happening faster and earlier than expected. I don't know what the time scale is on those ISDA Phase 6 margin calls. I have a feeling that the short hedge funds specifically, like the medium-sized ones that were between the $8 billion a year in derivatives and $50 billion a year in derivatives, those medium-sized guys and those family funds that are in there, they're facing T35s on stocks they shorted. And they're going, okay, we got T35 coming up. Let's go make ourselves a swap. And they go to that derivatives market and they're like, oh, I want to do a swap. And they get this notice, goes ding, 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 ding. You're going to post, $500 million in collateral to make this swap. And I go, what? But I don't have $500 million to make that swap, of collateral. And the ISDA is going to say, well, you can't make that swap then. You're not going to be able to trade your debt with someone else's debt. And they're, but I need to. I don't have the money it takes to buy these securities in the open market because the price is higher than what I sold them for. Well, I didn't have it, and I'm going to lose money. And the ISDA goes, okay, well, then I guess you're going to lose money. And they go, oh, no. And there's probably panic attacks going on at various funds, family funds and hedge funds right now over that very thing. Reading the language they wrote leading up to that September 1st date of when they're going to enact phase 6, it sounded like the large funds institutions that sold between, was it 50 billion and 500 billion in derivatives each year, traded that many. A lot of them were not prepared for when phase 5 went into place. And a lot of them were facing margin calls last year as a result. And so there are 6,000 more of these smaller funds that trade at that 8 billion to 50 billion range. And my guess is that most, if not all of them, were not prepared for the amount of collateral they have to put up for each time, not just once, for each time they do one of these swaps. So if they are a fund, and we know these funds all do exactly the same thing, you'll have 100 different funds all shorting the same company, doing the exact same play. They move on to the next one, they short that one too. They move on to this one, short that one too. So they probably have dozens or hundreds of these swaps that they're playing. If they put up a boatload of money each time they have to trade their debt away as collateral, they're going to run out of money. They're just not going to have enough to be able to do these plays. So they're going to get stuck with this debt. The song's going to be over. They're going to be stuck with the hot potato, and they're going to go, I can't do it. And then their prime broker's going to have to liquidate them and close positions. And that's when the banks are going to start. And the whole reason the ISDA did this was they're sick of the U.S. government and their inability to regulate the market in a way that does not create all this naked shorting. And I think it's the international banks' way of saying, like, we're sick of this crap. It's dooming us. It's dooming you. Let's just end it. And they've been doing it over like 5-6 years, slowly getting the players involved to catch up. And the thing is, they probably should have started with the smaller guys first rather than the bigger ones. Rather than starting with the 3 trillion guys up here, your Credit Suisses and Bank of Americas and so on. They should have started with the little guys first. They should have started with the people who only do like $100 million a year in these trades and then work their way up from there so that they can nip this in the bud earlier. But I don't know. Who am I to say which direction they should have started? Maybe they should just start with all of them all at once. Be like, no more trading debt. But meh. What are we going to do, right? Okay, where am I? I'm almost at the 2-hour point. Let's see if we can get some of the stuff down here at the bottom. And sorry if I miss chats in there. I never have the energy to get to all of them. Only a couple times I've gotten through all of them. Like 3 times, I think. And it's usually when there's 50 people watching. But it's Saturday night. There's 200 of you still hanging out with me. So, hey, all right. BOFH Houston, when you die of old age in 40 years, make sure to ask for the Mariners to be your pallbearers so they can let you down one last time. Why not? Yeah. I think I'm going to go for being turned into powder and then stuffed into a canyon and then fired into a canyon and then fired into a canyon wall. I think that'd be the way to go. right. Well, we're kind of... Where are we? Okay. Well, most people having just a conversation with themselves here. And... Raider Bo, GME to blockchain is the only path to MOS. It might be. I think it'd be brilliant if GME became the first blockchain stock. It'd be groundbreaking, and all of those OTC stocks would follow suit. Every single one of them would go, you know what? Peace, New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. We're going to go to this new blockchain where the shorts can't take us out of existence, and we can control how much liquidity we have. I think it is a game changer. If someone blockchains their stock, it'll be a game changer. It might as well be GME. William Morgan, approximately 1,000 stock squeeze February 2021 when Melvin Capital covered. Yep, the week after the sneeze, like 1,000 OTC stocks flew. We're talking like thousands of % on a lot of them. So there's a whole bunch of the OTC stocks that were absolutely flying when Melvin was having to cover those. Wilbur Dodge, Houston, how old are you? Like 38? I am 41, man. 41 and a half next month. I look pretty good for 41. I'll give myself that. I look better than my peers, most of them, anyway. All right. Well, Wilbur Dodge, I remember King Griffey and Alex Rodriguez days playing for Seattle. The 1996 Mariners had the greatest offense in baseball history. Let's just look up just what an amazing 1996 Seattle Mariners baseball reference. Okay. The Mariners had some of the worst pitching ever. Randy Johnson was on the DL. They really could not hit to save their life. Oh, you guys can't see because you're behind Google Earth. Let's get out of Google Earth. There we go. Okay, so batting average wise, Dan Wilson 285, Paul Sorrento 289, Joey Cora 291, Alex Rodriguez 358. I think he won the batting title that year. Russ Davis 234, but he's had lots of power. Rich Amaral 292, Ken Griffey Jr. 303, Jay Buhner 271, and Edgar Martinez at 327. On base plus slugging, we had 7 players, all with eight players, all with batting on base plus slugging over 800. I mean, Brian Hunter was amazing. Mark Whitten was a trade for the end of the season, and the dude on base plus slugging over 1 when he came in. The Mariners outfield was absolute monsters. We had how many home runs? I forget it was 245 home runs as a team, which I think is still a record. I mean, Griffey's hitting almost 50 that year. Jay Buhner 44, Edgar Martinez 26, Alex 36. Absolute monsters, and their pitching sucked. Starting pitching was absolute, just like Sterling Hitchcock was our number 1. Okay. ERA is absolute garbage. Jamie Moore is the only good player in that whole team. Well, Norm Charlton was all right. I love following Norm Charlton's Twitter. He's amazing. Bobby Alla. Oh, dude, Monkey, are you farting again, dude? Don't do that to me, please. But yeah, the 96 Mariners. There's no team that had on base plus slugging like the 96 Mariners. They're absolutely crazy. People talk about the 97 Mariners being the best offense of all time, and their numbers weren't as good as the 96 team. It's just the pitching was so garbage that they couldn't make the playoffs. And right now, Mariners batting sucks, so their pitching's amazing. So there we go. Space Monkey, the person who stole my place in the queue, I'm after you now. Okay. Whatever that may mean, I don't know. Phil Clayton, is Randy Johnson Magic Johnson's nickname? Not a basketball fan, I'm afraid. No, Randy Johnson was the big unit, which is, if you're going to be anything, you want to be called the big unit. That's the big unit. I think Chili Davis gave him that nickname. Because Randy Johnson was 6'10". He could have played basketball, I guess. But he could have been like the goofiest looking basketball player ever. Because he was the goofiest looking baseball player, that's for sure. I was at Soundgarden concert a few years ago, and Randy Johnson was in the pit. Just freaking 2 feet above everybody with a camera taking a picture of, it was Nine Inch Nails and Soundgarden playing. And there's Randy Johnson in the pit, just taking pictures and bouncing around, thrashing with everybody. That was pretty awesome. Anyway, all right. Monkey Butt. That's it for us tonight. Yeah. Okay. She's like, it's been over all night long. Go Mariners. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for showing up, everybody, on our special little Saturday show, because I was not around for Friday show. Take care of yourselves and each other. I'll see you Monday. I have no idea what time. I've got to look and see what my schedule's like on Monday. I have no idea what's going on this week. But I'll see you then. And have a great time. Enjoy your night. And sorry if I didn't get to your chats. Head on over to goaskhouston.com. Throw some questions in there. Maybe people find where in different videos I've answered those questions in the past, or maybe I'll be able to stop by and answer it myself. But head over there. Let's have some fun. We Wild, good morning, good buddy. Just made it for the last few minutes. Glad you're awake. Sorry I'm leaving. Take care, everybody. Have a great night, and I love you all.